Welcome back. You're still watching Business Morning on Channels Television, and today on the program our conversation is on the entertainment industry, and I have here with me in the studio the President of the Copyright Society of Nigeria, Tony Okoroji, and an entertainment lawyer, Tosin Adifope. Thank you so much for sticking around. Well, Tosin, I'm coming to you on this one now. Just before we went on that quick break, Tony talked about the fact that the computation of this royalties, or the sum that media houses are asked to pay in terms of royalties is computed according to best global practices. Now, do you know, as a lawyer, do you know how much or what this computation really is all about?
Well, I mean, I don't know how much, in the sense that it's different from country to country. So what's happening in Nigeria is that COSON currently is setting the rules for this. Now, Tony has told us that the way he's setting the rules is by looking at other countries, etc. Let me speak from the point of view that I work from. I'm working on behalf of the artists usually. So I want to know, for example, in the US, an artist like Rick Ross or like Usher, they can tell you how many times their record was played on radio. Why do they know this? Because they're getting paid each time it's played. So
but that means there's a law actually protecting this artist. So should we be having a law, to properly regulate how much monies are paid by the broadcasting houses for royalties on all the music that is played?
That would be interesting. I think the issue is that even, if we're serious that we really want transparency and we really want to carry people along, then maybe the problem is that things look like they're being done arbitrarily. Maybe, it should be more people, more stakeholders should be involved, and COSON should say, this is how much we are charging the stations, and this is why. This is how much, if you are an artist, you will get based on how many times your song is played, how many times your video is played on Sound City, and all these things, so that we can educate the artists, and they can also plan and know that if their song is played 10,000 times, that equates to a certain amount of money.
So we should have a clear law that will come out to stipulate all of this.
I would be for that. I mean, I think that would be something that would be...
Is the ball in my court?
Well, yes, it's a conversation we're having.
Yeah, very interesting conversation. Let me say that any artist, first of all, COSON is not a profit-making organization. I think that's very important. COSON is owned by the artists. It's not a strange organization. Two-Face Inibia is a member of COSON, Banky W is a member of COSON, The Banj is a member of COSON, Onyeka Onwenu, Ebenezer Obey, name them, right? Wizkid, Chidinma, whoever, they're members of COSON, right? They elect the board. Any of them can become chairman of COSON tomorrow. So it's not a strange organization or a business doing this on behalf of people. It is their organization, and it is forbidden from making profit. Okay. So it simply stands between them, right? The artists and the people who use the works, right? And everywhere in the world, royalty issues are negotiated. We have a negotiation that has been completed with the hotel industry in Nigeria. Hopsi, Hofa, and all of them, right? The basics are there. But what has happened with the broadcast industry is that the broadcast industry has been kicking the can, hoping that for some way, they will not have to pay this money.
But how transparent has this been? How transparent has COSON been as regards collecting royalties from the broadcasting organizations?
100% transparent. If you're an artist, you come to COSON now, the whole statement of where your money came from and how it's going will be given to you. Absolutely. 100%.
So these royalties are evenly distributed among everybody, the artists, the producers, the songwriters.
Let me explain to you what you do, right? People misunderstand how it works. Around the world today, you don't go and ask somebody, okay, how many times have you played this? Pay me based on that. Because first of all, you will then have played the music, right, before you pay. And the principle is that you ought not to play before you have paid, right? The other thing is that if you're a broadcasting station, then you don't have a budget. It's only after you have played that then you know how much you're owing. That will lead to a situation where you say, look, I didn't know, I don't have any money, and then we all will quarrel over and over again. So the principle is the principle of what we call blanket licensing. For instance, you access channels today and look at what channels does. Channels is issued a license at a certain amount of money, right? Then Channels has two obligations. One is to pay the money, and the other is to make sure that every piece of music used on Channels is logged. And the log is sent to COSON, right? We have computers and we have people who are trained. In fact, there are people going through training as I speak, right? Who will now break down the money based on who is the publisher, who is the author, who is the composer, and so on and so forth. We have a database of this, in fact, installed on our behalf by the World Intellectual Property Organization. That's a United Nations organization with people trained to do this. You know, in Nigeria, for some reason, everybody doubts that things can be done well.
Okay, let me
we
just
do
quickly,
things
let me
very,
just
very well. I can tell you that.
So,
we do things very, very well.
Can you just tell me,
Yes.
your members,
Yeah.
COSON members,
Yeah.
are they made up mostly of, what industry are they mostly made up of? Musicians, actors, or?
No, COSON has, that's another thing that appears to confuse people. COSON has been approved by the government to be a collective management organization for musical works and sound recordings. Full stop.
So how many are there? How many
members
Yes.
are there in COSON? As we speak, COSON will have at least 2,000 members and more, but we also represent musicians from across the world, right? We have reciprocal representation agreements with organizations such as PRS for Music of the United Kingdom, which has repertoire across the world, MCSK, Music Copyright Society of Kenya.
Well, how many of these members are actually core musicians, and how many, because most of them, who are core musicians understand the issues that affect them, and as much as possible try to protect
No, you don't
others.
think that the Chief Executive is a core musician, or a Banky W is a core musician, or a Nebenizo Bay is a core musician? Or
And these are the members you have on COSON.
Of course, yes. You don't think they're core musicians? Let me repeat that there is no musician of any reckoning in Nigeria today that's not a member of COSON.
Okay, so how much do you pay them as royalties?
How much do we pay? No, what we pay, the COSON has two tranches of royalties that we distribute.
Okay.
One is what we call a general distribution. We do what we call a general distribution because there are big artists, there are small artists, there are artists that if you depend solely on the logs will never get any money. So we do that. That's almost a socialist kind of.
And the second one is?
That is what we call specific distribution, based completely on the logs and the analysis of the logs and how much of your music has been used, which is why somebody can get a check for 3 million and another guy gets a check for 30,000 or 25,000 because it's and there are principles. I've written a major book on this, which is being used to study. People are using it to do masters around the world. So we're not just people dabbling into something we don't understand. This is something
so
we
for
have
us
people
to
trained for.
properly shape this industry to be what it needs to be, Tosin, you already mentioned it, we need a good structure. So what kind of structure needs to be adopted for the entertainment industry, for the players to cash in on their business?
Yes, I think registration is important. So even and it starts with the creators of these works as well. So when you create something, when you write a song, register it, obtain the copyright. Obtain the copyright, do a trademark for your logo, have agreements with your producer as to how you want to share the royalties. That you need to structure it. So if you are going to go into business with someone, you would agree who does what and who gets what. So I think starting from the talent, you need to take this seriously and first of all register your work. If you write a song, write it down, copyright it, and let's go out and look for how we can monetize your creative work.
Yeah, so taking it outside of Lagos now, how much of outside players should we begin to factor into all these moves that COSON is making to ensure that artists get properly paid? From what you say now, that all the royalties that comes in on music played on whether radio or television actually gets to the end user, and that there is no artist that doesn't get what is supposed to be his own due when the time comes. And even if you don't get it, there's that, you said escravos account?
Escrow.
Escrow account, sorry.
That's required by law.
Yes, there's an escrow account.
Yeah.
Now, for these artists who feel that they've been shortchanged, how can they come forward to air their grievances properly and have COSON administer to them their due right.
Harriet, let me say something. Let me correct something.
Okay.
An impression. In fact, I had thought that there would be more quarrel over distribution of royalties than there have been. Okay. I'm chairman of COSON, okay, and I receive representation from members across the country every day, and we really don't have that dispute. You know, the dispute seems to be coming from some people who are not involved or from outside. Well, really very little dispute.
I doubt that very much. Everybody is very concerned about the growth of the industry because we look at it as a very heavy revenue earner.
You know where we have disputes? I came yesterday
just quickly because we're actually out of time.
You know, I came yesterday from Benin City, Edo State, right, to make sure that everybody is informed about what's happening. A few days back, we were in Abuja to deal with this. Where we have issues is let the broadcast stations, for God's sake, pay for the music as they pay for diesel, and pay their staff, and pay for their transmitters, and pay.
Well, Tony, thank you so much.
They need to pay.
This conversation can't end here. We'll definitely have this conversation another day. But we're far spent on time. Thank you so much, Will, for coming on the program, Tosin and Tony.
Thank you very much.
Well, we've been looking at the entertainment industry and. Well, it's been an interesting conversation. You can be part of it. You can send your comments and questions to any of the addresses showing on your screen. But that's the show for today. Thank you for watching. I'm Harriet Agbin.